This time on Ivy Built, we remount the cab to a clean frame with brand new body mounts. Cab off, cab on. I have to do several things in order to get this cab moved back. Obviously the end goal is to get the body mounts replaced, which are still holding, but they're pretty deteriorated and cracked. So I need to remove the steering linkage, the steering shaft. I'll actually take the steering column out of the vehicle. It'll come out from the inside. Since I'm not going to be reusing this master cylinder anymore, I'm going to take that out and I'm going to pull all the wiring back in through the cab so I can take all that out. I'll unbolt the seat from the inside, get that out, just try and make the cab as light as possible with as little in there as possible, so that way I can roll it back. And what I'm going to do is, once I get everything disconnected and the body mount bolts out, I am going to lay some pads on the back of the frame, just some thick blankets, and I'm going to roll this, just roll it back onto those pads and slide it back just a little bit so I have access to the entire frame rail underneath the cab. I'm going to clean it up, pressure wash it, degrease it, and shoot it with some paint, so that way let it dry, that way it's all good. Set the new body mounts in there, get the cab back up in place, get it lined up, put the bolts back in, and we should be good. I will not be putting back in the new steering column right away because that's a whole project in and of itself. That'll be its own video. And I will put the seat back in it, but I won't bolt the seat down. I'll just put it back in there so it stays out of the weather for storage. So with that being said, looks like I have two bolts down here where the steering shaft connects to the gearbox, and then one bolt up here which is a clamp. Take that off and I should be able to separate this whole thing, get the steering shaft out of the way. The shifter linkage is already undone because the transmission's out of the truck, and I can take the whole steering column out. There's a plate right here with 3 bolts that I will take off, and which will make this hole much bigger, and I'll be able to actually snake this steering column out like that. So follow along. First thing I'm going to do is get this steering shaft off and out of the way, and I have to get these cables. Yeah, that's fun. All right, here we go. Steering shaft. So I'm going to get in here and take the steering column out. Alright, I got the column out. This is out, this is not going back in. I have a new aftermarket steering column that I got a couple years ago, but it's a tilt column, it's nice. Moving on. Alright, we're making headway. I got the body mount bolts out. They came out, no issues. So next step is going to roll this thing back onto the rear frame rail. Here we go. We're going to move this cab off. Got a little weight to it. It's safe, it's secure. So I will pressure wash, clean the frame, degrease it, spray it with some paint, we'll put it back together. I'm gonna get it lined up, get all these bolts in. You don't want to see me struggle like that. All right, there is the front one, all cinched down, ready to go. Frame is painted. It's not the best paint job, but it's protected. It had some surface rust, so we got that cleaned off, and that's done. Here's the rear. It's all cinched down, ready to go. Everything is in place. And that is that. Body mounts are all on, frames cleaned up and painted. And surprisingly enough, that went way smoother than what I expected it to. I guess I'm just getting trained to expect the worst, because that really wasn't that bad. Probably the worst part was lifting the cab and like rocking it back onto the back frame rails. I would not suggest doing it like that at all. If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't do it like that. I'd figure out some other way, but it worked, and it worked without incident. I inspected the back of the cab. It's fine, no issues. Everything's in, everything's tight. It's all lined up within a 1/16 of an inch, which I don't think is that big of a deal. I mean, it's a 58-year-old truck, so it was probably off 1/8 of an inch to begin with. But yeah, it went good, and we're gonna move on to the next thing. So I have all my parts for the front end, so next time we are going to start tearing apart the front end, getting the old springs out, cleaning up the upper and lower control arms, putting in my CPP 3-inch drop springs and 2.5-inch drop spindles with front disc brakes, do the front brake lines, all that. I don't know exactly what I'll get done in the next video because we're not there yet. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Have a good rest of the weekend, and we'll see you next time right here on Ivyville.